It's common to experience a range of emotions throughout your financial journey. Depending on your circumstances, you may feel anxious, stressed, fearful, or guilty. At other times, you could feel empowered, hopeful, or at peace. What you feel could be just as complex as what you're going through. I'm your host, Melissa Mazard. Tune into Financial Feels as my guests share their personal stories with money, the lessons they've learned, and the emotions they felt along the way. Learning about money at a young age is helpful, but it won't prevent you from facing real-life financial issues. Our guest in this episode talks about her early financial education, her financial mistakes, and her journey as an entrepreneur. This is a good one.
My very first memory with money was wanting a pair of, I'm not making it up either, lace gloves, even though my name's Lacey. I wanted a pair of lace gloves, and I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, and I wanted them for Easter Sunday to wear with my dress, my Easter dress. And they were, this is old school, so just, I know I'm dating myself, but they were in like a Belk catalog or Sears catalog. They were in some type of catalog. And we actually were, at the time, were living in Germany. My father was in the military, and I really wanted these gloves. And I forget how much money they were. Obviously, I was very young, so I don't remember the finer details. But I remember I wanted them, and my dad told me that he wasn't going to buy them for me, that I could use part of my little bit of birthday money. If I wanted to contribute, my parents would pay for half and order them for me. And I remember I saved up or gave him all of my money, and then they paid the other half, and then I got these gloves for Easter, and I was so excited. It was very rewarding and something that I wanted, and I had to take ownership or part ownership of that purchase. And I just always remember that's something I really wanted. But my dad had a discussion with me about what it costs to buy these gloves, and to think about, did I really want them? Did I want to take all of my birthday money and put it towards this purchase? There's this contribution that you have to make to things. Like, you have to work and earn it, but also when you do that, you value it more. And I think that was the message too I received of the whole ordering the glove situation, is that I did value them. I remember trying to squeeze my little hand into them when I was way much older, and they did not fit. But I remember, like, oh no, I bought these gloves. So every Easter I would like try to squeeze my hand into them to the point where they didn't fit anymore. But I did value that purchase because I had invested in it. There was definitely discussions, but I feel like it was more general, but it was also by example. So first of all, we were always told that you can't spend every penny you have or that you make. Like, that's not sustainable. You have to put money away. You have to save for emergencies. There are things in life that are going to come up, whether you like it or not, and you're going to have to pay for them. But then also, I always saw my parents sitting down at our dining room table paying bills. That was, a weekly or monthly thing that I saw my dad do. I also saw the discussions they had, particularly about the food budget, because a family of 6, that was a tight budget. 4 kids can eat a lot of food, especially 4 teenagers. So we could do some damage. I mean, as soon as they got home with groceries, it was like they were gone. And so that was always a discussion. Like, this is the money for the groceries. And my mom always said that, like, this is how much we have. This is how much I'm spending. I know you would like this flavor of chips, but we're going to get the regular chips because that's what everybody likes or can do. So there were general discussions and examples. And then the other part was when I started earning my own income, when I was a W-2 employee. From day one, my dad made me do my own taxes. And that was back in the day when you actually had to go to the library and like get the forms to fill out, a 1040 EZ. And he would help me if I had questions, but basically I had to sit down and read it and figure it out. I had to get the booklets and read through everything and do my own taxes every year, because my parents really wanted to instill that they're not going to be around forever. They're teaching me to be a fully functioning adult, and I need to have some of these things under my belt. So when they're not around or I'm out on my own, that I can handle it. Okay, now I have a skill set. I have some frame of reference and my own system to kind of make it through this difficult time with money or challenge with money. So those were kind of the things that they did. I actually started working at what I think is a young age. I think I was 13 or 14 when I started working. You were able to bag groceries on the weekend at the commissary, the grocery store on military installations. And you had to get there early. All the kids lined up, and they had this marble system. And so there were 2 different color marbles, and I think they only picked like maybe 10 baggers each day. So one, you had to get up early. You didn't know if you were going to get to work, but you had to go show up. And then they put in the amount of marbles and the 10. Somehow they counted the people that were there. And if you drew the right color marble, you got to bag groceries for the entire day. So I made a ton of cash. And that was wonderful that I had that opportunity. So that was kind of my first job, but my first real paying job was I bussed tables at a restaurant. I'll never forget. It was called T. Jimmy's, and it was in Pennsylvania when my dad was stationed at Carlisle Barracks. And I loved it. It was a really great opportunity. I was really into making my own money. I really liked that I worked hard and this was mine. It wasn't anybody else's. And I loved the fact that when my mom and dad told me I couldn't have something, I'd be like, that's fine. I'll just do it myself. Like I will pay for it. I use that as like, I don't need your help. And that was wonderful to me to be able to say, I want these jeans. I'm going to get them. I want these sunglasses, or I want to drive around town for hours. I can pay for my own gas. So I liked the idea of having my own money so I could do what I want and I wasn't at the mercy of other people. So those were kind of the first two jobs. And I always have been working since then. I mean, maybe when I had kids, I took a little break there. But other than that, like I really enjoy working. Right after I got my license, I hit a parked car. My dad talked with the person who I hit their car, and they worked it out that I would pay out of pocket to have that car repaired. And I remember my dad talked it all over and came home, and I was thinking, oh, my dad's going to pay it. He kept saying, we're going to pay it out of pocket. And that way, it doesn't have to get reported to insurance. And when we got home, he's like, you do realize that when I say we pay it out of pocket means you're paying it out of pocket. And it was a lot of money for a 16-year-old. It was something like $600 or $700 that I had to pay for that repair. It was just like the bumper or something that I pushed in. But all the money I bagged groceries that went towards paying for that car. And I was very nervous because I'm like, how am I going to come up with this money? And my dad's a pretty serious dude, so he wasn't joking around. And I knew he wasn't joking around that I was going to pay that bill. And so I was like, all right, how am I going to make this happen? But then it was also a really great lesson learned because that was all cash that I was counting out to my dad, and it was just going away. So I worked all of those hours for that money to just not even be in my pocket. So I thought, I'm gonna be a lot more careful when I drive because I don't want to be doing this again. I think when you're young, you have no frame of reference and you don't have many problems. You don't have many responsibilities. Therefore, it's like, all right, I have all this money. I can spend it. I was in the military too, and I made a lot of mistakes. And so I always knew like, hey, I'm still going to get a roof over my head. I'm going to get food. So I definitely was spending money going out partying on stupid stuff, clothes, things that I don't even remember. Like, well, where is all of that money? And then, definitely running up credit card debt. I did that while I was on active duty. I actually started getting the credit card debt when I was in high school because I turned 18 at the beginning of my senior year. So I was like, again, back to if I have money, I could do whatever I want. You can't tell me what to do. But that was great because I did start getting a credit card, and my dad was able to point out quickly, like, that's a huge mistake. And this is why it's a huge mistake, and work through that with me, but still didn't listen to that. Ran up more credit card debt when I was on active duty. I had to pay that down. I've paid down a lot of credit card debt. When you're younger, you're trying to have life experiences. So it's like, I need to spend this money. I need to go do this thing because I haven't had that experience. As you get older, you've had more experiences. And so you're like, that's not that big of a deal. Like, I don't need to spend money on that, or that's not worth it. So you start to have this more frame of reference. Now I have a lot more responsibilities and there's nobody else to cover that. So if I am not thoughtful on how I spend my money or invest my money, then I am the only one that's going to be suffering from that. Moving into marriage, you are taking two different backgrounds and putting them together with money. So the way that my husband was raised with money is now colliding with the way that I was raised with money. And thankfully, he was raised in a household too where there were money discussions. And so that wasn't too difficult. In a marriage, it comes down to how you spend your money, what you value. I like experiences. My husband might like a thing more than experience, or he wants to spend his money on fishing versus I would like to spend my money on new clothes or a massage or something like that. And so you're having this discussion that this other person just does not get why you want this so badly or why you value this. And you're not getting why we have to spend money on that thing that you want or that thing you want to do. And I think that's where the compromise comes in with finances. And it's like, okay, well, we could do this thing for me this one time, and the next time we'll do it for you, or we don't have money for that, or we just have our own disposable income and you don't get to say anything about what I spend this amount of money on. So you're starting to see how each other does it, things you like, things you don't like. And it's about having an adult conversation about those things and being practical, and then also trying to put yourself into that person's shoes to say like, okay, well, I could see why you like the outdoors. This is peaceful. This is whatever it is, versus, okay, I see like you would like to look nice, or you need it for work or whatever it is. That is hard, but totally doable, but you can't not do it. I think that's a problem a lot of people have with money, is that it's easier not to address debt, easier not to address a disagreement with money, but that's not going to make it go away, and it's not going to make the conversation any easier. So having it in the moment is important. I'm not saying if everybody's keyed up and angry or sad or whatever, that's the best time to do it, but making sure when everybody's calmed down that it gets addressed, I think, is important. Becoming a military spouse and my earning ability being impacted by my husband's career, I went into business and entrepreneurship. That's not necessarily something I ever thought about doing or thought I was capable of doing. So that was a turning point, because I wanted to make money. I worked really hard to build up my education and my experience, and I wanted that. And so then I got really mad. Actually, I think a lot of things that I accomplish is it makes me angry, and then I do something about it. And I was very angry that I didn't have control over my earning ability. And so then I thought, okay, I'm going to make my own career, and I'm going to be able to take that with me wherever the military sends me. So that's when I started looking into entrepreneurship. When I started my business, I bootstrapped everything. So that means, it's coming out of my household income. I had a business degree with a concentration in finance, and I still didn't really understand what it took to run a business. I did some of those things, like focusing on all the wrong things, like my logo, my fonts on my website, or like color schemes, and just things that weren't going to make me money. And so that's when I really started getting into the business side and trying to figure out, how can I actually make money at this thing, and made it work. If you're saying I'm starting a business, it is your imaginary friend. Only you can see it. You are creating something out of thin air. And it's really hard to draw your vision for somebody. You see it in your head. You know what you're capable of, but it's really hard to articulate that to somebody, that, hey, this is what I envision. And I know I can do this. Because people that haven't been in entrepreneurship, one, they're a little scared by it because they don't know what to expect. And they don't realize the sacrifice that comes with it, and the commitment, those type of things. There's all of these things that can make you doubt yourself, when you need every bit of strength that you have to build a business. You need somebody to be like, you know what, like, you're taking this thing to the moon. You do it, like, whatever you need, that's the kind of stuff you need. But it's hard when, again, you're creating something out of thin air. It's important to surround yourself with entrepreneurs, being around people that have been there before you. They're going to be your biggest supporters, because they know exactly how hard it is. They're not going to tear down anything. Like in the beginning, you're just trying to make stuff work, make it stick. That requires a lot, like, of trying and failing. Other people see that as like, oh, they failed again. An entrepreneur is going to be like, no, they're getting closer. They're getting way closer. Like, they're almost there. The biggest way to get people to come around and to really believe is to deliver. So it's like, hey, I remember I said I was going to do that thing. I was going to start a podcast. Guess what? Here's my first podcast. Guess what? I had 5 coaching clients this month. Hey, this is my first product, and this person bought it. Pointing out what you have accomplished, I think, is a big way to get people to come around. When people start to see money coming in, then that's when people really believe. It's like, okay, this isn't an imaginary friend anymore. It's actually income that's coming in. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a mom. I have a lot of hats I wear, and things can get lost in the shuffle if I'm not careful. So I do try to automate things. I try to set calendar reminders if it's something that's not automated. I handle bills that come in as they come in. I pay them very quickly. For the business side of things, same thing applies. I have a lot of things automated. I do try to be very careful about what I spend money on. Don't want to pay more for something if I don't have to. I don't want to pay for something I'm not using. So I try to be mindful of that. I also try to make sure I cancel things, because they'll start renewing renewing that stuff. So I try to make sure that that's in my calendar to make sure it gets canceled in time. Just like you would do a budget and planning for your personal finances, you still have to do that for your business. There's a really great book called Profit First that helps break down how you should separate your business income, which I think is really important, is to have these buckets that you're paying for things and know where it's going. So make sure that you're, again, not spending every penny that you earn in your business, that you have money for the future to pay for problems, because in business, you need things on deck, like tax help. You might need bookkeeping. You might need an attorney. You might need somebody to review a contract, those type of things. So you want to have money to be able to pay those expenses. If I have a business goal that I want, how am I going to pay for that? If it's, I want a sponsor for my podcast, how am I going to get a sponsor? What am I going to do to get a sponsor? If I want my website to make more money, what am I going to do to make sure my website makes more money? So it's really about setting goals and how much money I want to make and how I'm going to accomplish that. Always keeping the eye on, you have to make money in business. If not, it's a hobby. And so I'm mindful of that. It's like, I have to earn. In order to earn, I have to perform. And, performing means creating content, creating products, creating services, whatever that is. It also means marketing. I have to put myself out there. I have to be present. I have to do speaking. I have to do social media. That's all part of the business goals of me earning a certain amount of money. These are all things that have to go into place to make that happen. So those are kind of things I do with the business side of finances. And I think that's really hard when you're starting out, because you are creating something out of thin air. And so it feels awkward. For example, if you are creating a financial guide to help people with their money and you want to sell that feels weird at first because it's something you created. Google came to you and was like, hey, we created this guide for finances. You'd be like, holy crap, I was going to do that, or I could have done that, or I have a better version of that. So it's just the fact that it has somebody that's more established name on it. But what's this? Say that you're not Google or the future Google. And so, but you will never be the future Google if you don't create that first thing or do that first thing, that service. And same thing, if your personal life and your finances, like you're never going to make the amount of money that you want if you don't go to school, get training, get education, go to that interview that you're scared of, ask for the raise that you're scared to ask for. If you want those things, you have to produce. You have to go after them. It applies the same thing in business, is that you have to earn, to accomplish the things that you want. I would say when it comes to your money, to keep things simple. I think often people use jargon or hear things on TV or podcasts or read about it, and it's intimidating to them. But really, the basics is what's important. You need to spend less money than you make, and you need to save it and invest it. You need to save for emergencies. You need to save for the things that you want, save for your goals. And then also you need to save for your future self, because right now in your earning years, you are earning money for two people, for yourself and your 85-year-old self. And if you are not saving money and putting it away, you're not going to have the quality of life that you want at 85. So I think that's really important for people, is to keep it simple and keep an eye to the future. And then also to believe in yourself, that nobody's perfect with money. People make mistakes, and you'll continue to make mistakes, and you'll continue to learn, but that's not something that is unique to you. Yes, you are a unique individual, but everybody has these problems with money, and they sort it out and figure it out. I would just say that you always try to improve your knowledge and your skills, and practice by doing your budget, or, making sure that you're saving, looking at your HR packet and looking at all of your benefits and making sure that you are using everyone that's offered to you and getting the most out of everything. And then also just staying on top of it and being mindful of it, being aware of it, and not just letting it sit and forget about it. Is to have this review where you're reviewing your information for your budget, but then also reviewing your knowledge and increasing that as you go along. Challenges will arise, but you have to handle them when they come up. And you're going to be handling them with the information that you have at the time. You're going to look back and be like, man, I should have done this different. But you're looking at that through the lens of somebody that has more experience and knowledge, because they went through that experience. So you're just going to have to do the best you can in the moment, and then know that the next time something like that comes up, you'll handle it a different way. But being kind to yourself through all of it is really important. So far, there is pride. There have been a lot of challenges financially in life, or just challenges in general in life, where I've been humbled and I've had knowledge and I haven't used it. And that's hurt me. And then there's regret. It'd be like, why didn't I do better? Where you're negative self-talk and beating myself up. Like, I could have done better in that situation and I didn't. But I think overcoming that, the story's not over. I still have challenges in my finances, especially in business, but I'm determined. I know what my goals are. I know what my personal goals are, my family and my life there. I know what my business ones are. So I think really knowing what you want is important. And through my journey, there has been mistakes. And so there's frustration there. But there's also great pride in overcoming the challenges and looking back to be like, you know what? I didn't quit. I got back up and I figured it out. And now I can do better. And not only can I do better, I can help other people do better. And I think that's really highly motivating to me. So I guess I'm inspired by the lessons that I've learned and the ability to help other people.
Lacey Langford founded Milmo and MilMoneyCon to help military members and their families achieve financial and entrepreneurial success. Thank you, Lacey, for sharing your story and insights with us. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know with a like or review. Only one episode remaining for our show's first season. Thank you for your continued support.